dive?
Well,
Yeah.
there's been very
Yeah, that
few
was with
Argus
her.
only dives. There was the longest Argus only dive was 56 hours, and that was the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Herc dive would be in the 70s. There's a couple of ONC ones that are 70-some hours.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Herc did ONC stuff.
Herc? Oh yeah, you gotta have Herc for that. I mean, what? Argus can't do anything. Don't look at it.
Yeah.
ONC work is pretty cool for people watching from home. It's a lot of engineering tasks, but very, very labor intensive. A lot of arm work, a lot of instruments that we bring down. Really, a lot of.
Can you remind us what ONC stands for?
Ocean Networks
Canada. Yes, thank you. Have Ocean Networks Canada has a cabled observatory kind of instrument array offshore. The University of Washington is theirs, but has OII or RSN. I don't know what they're calling it now. Similar system. It's like, think of the internet underwater with instruments attached to it. Various science experiments. And Nautilus, we service that network for Ocean Networks Canada most years. Not this year, but we will again next year. But yeah, it's very, very busy time, busy work.
Cool.
What did someone said 54 hours was the longest Argus only dive?
I think for some reason the number 56 is in my head,
56.
but that was 9 years ago, so that could be wrong.
Okay. Do we have a chance at
We are on dive
topping that at least?
1056.
What's that?
Yeah, it's true. We did just drop target 56 on dive 1056.
Well, no, that's not why I did that.
Okay.
How many hours have we been down?
Let me check the start
like
time again.
That's a good
Argus
question,
is getting
actually.
there now, right?
Yeah.
We have it in our checklist here. Checklist everything you do. So do we want from time on the bottom or time in the water?
In the water.
All right.
When I don't like.
Argus went in the water at 0924 UTC on the, what date was that? The 15th.
Whoa, we're at 56, aren't we?
So
this will be the longest Argus dive.
Hey, 50, is that right? 56 hours and 37 minutes or something?
There you go.
Something
Yeah.
like, or 50 something. Amazing.
How serendipitous.
And we've had 56 targets on
and we
dive
just
R1056,
In the 56 hour.
which is the 56th dive that Argus has
actually,
done alone.
I wonder.
Well, are we right?
I don't know.
Math.
It's
I can do the math in a
still
second.
early.
We have some viewers who have some fond memories of us placing seismometers with
Yeah.
Ocean Networks Canada.
The seismometer instruments are really cool, and the evolution or the work scope to get them in is I want to say like maybe it's like 16 hours or something like that.
Wow.
It's a big operation. Yeah, you have to dredge, you go down and like dredge a hole, and then you have this big they call it caisson, big green piece of PVC, kind of like it looked like drainage culvert stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you lay that down. So you dredge out a little bit of a hole as best you can. You get that in it, and then you start to get that in the ground. Then you dredge out the inside and push it in, and dredge it out and push it in. So you get that level with the seafloor. You have a lot of bags of glass beads. So you dump out some glass beads on the bottom, and then you put the instrument in. You orient it. You have a bubble level for it. Get it oriented properly. Dump in more beads. At some point, fix it, make sure it's level and stuff like that. Continue to fill up the hole with glass beads, and then there's the cable comes out of there. You have to staple the cable down so far away from it so that that's not moving in the current or anything like that. It's a big, long evolution, and they have a whole array of these things for early warning system for tsunamis.
Okay, so you guys aren't gonna believe this. I just did the math.
Yeah.
So we dropped target 56 on dive R1056 at hour 56 and 5.6 minutes. To the decimal minute.
That's precision.
Wow.
That is crazy. That's the end times.
Things are lining
What?
up. I don't know.
And also beats the longest Argus dive ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
You're watching history, folks.
Things are funny like that.
I feel like we need a soundboard for
There's-
sound effects.
And that was just a target that I dropped, like, kind
That
of
was
like,
because you're like, yeah.
You were like just because. You said just because.
Yeah.
You were like,
Meh.
this is weird.
I'll drop it right
That with
meow.
the 111.
5.6 minutes.
There's a lot of numbers lining up.
Oh, that's incredible. I think it was 2 years ago, again for an Ocean Networks Canada job. There was one of their instrument platforms had been kind of haphazardly or accidentally deployed upside down from a previous cruise on a different vessel. So the platform was kind of upside down on edge in the mud. We were doing 2-ship operations with a cable ship, and the mushroom anchor for the cable ship managed to land in the armpit of like one of the platform's legs and the framework, and the mushroom anchor was just like sitting there. The mushroom anchor's like I got a rounded bottom, and it was just sat there. Like it could have tipped over at any minute. It's like how did that happen? 1 in a million shot.
I'm still just blown away.
You gotta write that down.
You gotta buy a lottery
We're gonna
ticket.
forget the details. Of that.
Yeah, record this somewhere in history.
It's amazing coincidence, but it's of no importance.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, no.
no
There,
one will-
there's not going to be a kid
one will
in 30
care.
years reading in some
But-
book.
but you should
on
still
this
buy a
date.
lottery ticket.
It's another sea cucumber.
Heck yeah.
Still counting those?
Sort of.
I think we're
What are we at?
160.
I think we've been slacking. a
Tapered
lot
off on the
that.
counting. it seems
I
like.
think we're losing steam on this
It kept us entertained for
for a
2
while.
watches.
But
and
now we got bingo and all of our odd
Yes.
coincidences.
Crazy coincidences. That's right.
Well, I was going to say if we were at 167, that would have been 56 plus 111.
Huh.
uh,
I mean, that's what we were just. That's what the count was. Wait. 100 and. What? If we were at 56.
If we're at 106, yeah, 111 plus 56 is 167.
Yes. Oh, we were recently at that.
Not sure. You said we were at 160.
yeah, we haven't hit 167 yet.
We're at what? We're talking about 150. What?
56
Yeah.
plus 111,
Is 106. Oh, I'm thinking.
67.
Yeah, I'm thinking 157. Sorry.
Okay.
Again, math. I used all of it up on that that target calculation.
You used your math quota for the day.
All out of maths.
That just means his calculator battery died.
No, I did not use the calculator. That was basic head math. And before people write in, yes, it is accurate. I double checked.
So 0.6 minutes is what, 36 seconds in?
Yes. I'm 100% sure of that.
So Chris, what path are we on?
Like what line number?
Yeah.
I believe we are on 17, and I am correct. We are on line 17, going up to 21. Yeah.
So Dr. Brennan, any interesting targets since 4 a.m.?
No, not really at all. So the last watch went over some of the other targets that we thought were interesting, and some of them remain interesting. So I'm going to bring them into the sonar program, and then we may go check them out visually with Argus at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we did this watch, like most of it, the beginning of it was a turn, and then on this line we've had just a single target that really wasn't much of anything.
It was mostly interesting because of its time and number coincidence.
A question just come in that if we still had the Coda Octopus Echo Scope, would that be useful?
The what?
The what now?
That instrument is much more useful for sort of 3D bathymetry of like an isolated target, like a shipwreck or a coral reef or something. It's not really, I don't believe, at least not the one that I've used, it's all that well versed for a large-scale survey.
Thanks for that answer.
Props to them. We don't know what that
I
is.
don't even know what it is.
What is the name of it again?
The Coda Octopus Echo Scope.
Never
Octopus.
heard
Oh,
of
I
it.
missed the echo scope part.
It's a real-time, it collects 3D bathymetry in real time, so you can kind of like, it's almost like an ultrasound, but it's collecting multi-beam.
Interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm like, octopus. And then you said instrument. I'm like, what are we using these animals for?
Yeah.
No, okay, I got it.
It's a very talented octopus.
It really is.
Well,
It-
they're
it
smart. You know.
Feels it out and then
Yeah.
gets back to you.
It's been spending lots of time in university. for our guests who just turned in and asked if we found the clipper yet, the answer for that is no. We are still exploring our search area. Pretty big search area in terms of 2 square miles and relative to how quickly we're moving. So moving about 1 knot on average, roughly. So we still have a few hours before we finish our passes. And then after that, we may extend the search area. We may go back and do some visual investigations of some of those dive targets we've established earlier. It's 100% up to the talents and decisions of the science team.
No pressure.
But we did just recently learn that this is Argus's longest dive. So props to everyone. Golf clap, golf clap.
Longest solo dive, right?
He's getting lonely.
That's also based on my memory, so
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, could be wrong.
could be wrong.
Yeah, we're like off by like 40 hours or something. Like,
Thanks to Galveston, Texas, turning in for your oceanography classes all summer.
cool. I was just in Galveston.
Yeah?
Well, not just, it was weeks ago. But
we'll count it.
I picked up my last ship, Coast Guard cutter Dauntless, in Galveston. We were moored up at Pier 21 down there by the cruise ship terminal.
That's where I ended my time on the Nautilus in 2015. Really
Cool.
nice. Yeah. Well, for our educator tuning in, please go ahead and check out nautiluslive.org's educational resources. There's a lot of different ways that you can interact with us, or we can interact with you with interactions from the ship. So all those educational resources are free as well. So if you go through and you actually create your little login, there's no pay, there's no anything. You just create your login and then you just explore and enjoy all the educational resources that it has to offer. And thanks to Melissa, a former SCF, for popping in as well. She said it's great to hear your voice, Mike.
Which Mike?
Brennan.
Oh, hello. Good to hear from you.
That was 95% of the world in general are undisciplined. 99, maybe that number goes to 99% when we're talking about so just highlighting the fact that we do know very, very little about our
I can very faintly hear Valerie in her ship-to-shore interaction.
Can't hear it.
What channel are you listening to?
Just SPL.
Can't hear it.
Now I can't.
They have a hot mic in there somewhere.
Okay, that makes more sense because there's also someone trying to talk through hub.
Yeah, it sounded like the hub was just trying to test the intercom system, and they're all set now.
Got it.
Anybody have any idea what the temperature is out there? They are, like, viewers are enjoying that beautiful sunrise.
Oh, out like,
Yeah,
Probably
outside
somewhere
we're
between 75 and 85.
nice.
I think that's about what it is all the time here.
yeah, best guess 80
Yep.
with a little humidity to go with it. I keep wanting to like jump to what Argus is doing. I was like, probably 4 degrees Celsius. And then it was like when someone asked how far Argus was away from the ship, I said 3,200 meters. They meant behind it.
So what's the layback right now?
A distance. At least 1 foot.
80 meters of cable.
Severe.
So 711 meters. Behind the ship.
Yeah. So
Holy smokes.
it's wild that I was thinking about this because I knew we were about 700 meters behind the other day, and I went out and I looked at the cable and it looked like it was going straight down. And I was like, how is it?
When you're
Yeah, very small
then it makes you realize how
angle
deep
over.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you're 3,200 meters,
Oh yeah.
that angle is very small.
Yep.
Just do some quick trig.
Yep. Well, we're laid back so severely, you actually do see it change a little bit up here, but it's still small, but generally there's no difference really. Usually like within what? 50 meters of the back of the ship.
Yeah. I think on the, well, on our dives with Herc connected, you don't want to get too far away. Like, we'd never let this happen with Argus, because then if Herc is doing something, Argus is just going to start pulling on Herc. You're not really going to get any good video or samples. You're just going to watch us
Nope. We could only just
dragged
keep
through
going
the water.
ahead.
Yeah. Try to keep up.
Yeah, I remember one time we were doing something with Herc and they were trying to go at 1 knot and did
No,
not work well.
Foolishness. You can't stop.
Nope. You hesitate for a second and suddenly you're just dragging her behind the ship.
Also, it takes so much time for the
Yeah.
ship to move
That's
first, but then Argus is at a delay with the swing, so you can't just move back and it'll stop. Argus is going to keep swinging on its pendulum.
Well, it's amazing. You can eat up like 45 minutes like that.
Those are interesting on the side scan. Hold on.
I'll give you one guess what it is.
Rock.
Yep.
That sunrise is beautiful. So, Dr. Brennan, is there any target that we've had so far that you think you're most interested in at the time being?
There's still those ones that there's 30 and 31, which we went over again last night, and they still have some interesting features. So they may be worth bringing the Argus camera over to look at. I have to talk with the team about that. The thing about it, though, is that if it is anything, it's debris, and there's nothing else around it, so it's kind of questionable as to how that would happen. So I'm more apt to continue the survey and expand it a little bit. Because, you know, one of the things is we don't know how... so there's a single coordinate from the accident report, which is what we base this survey around. And there are other witness reports that give general distances from the island, which are in this area as well.
Yeah.
But we don't know specifically what observations and what locations went into the development of that single coordinate for the accident report. Was it from an aircraft sighting of the oil slick? Was it from where they picked up wreckage? Was it just from eyewitnesses estimating? It was down to the minutes and seconds, at least for the latitude was. The longitude was down to the minute. So it seemed like they had a pretty good position. But, you know, one of the things, we don't really know what observations went into that. There were none of the Navy ship Avocet, they did not write down any locations in their logbooks during their time out here to look for survivors and recover things from the debris from the wreckage. So that's one thing that we don't really know.
If that was a debris field, would that potentially make it easier for us to identify where to go if we needed to expand the search area?
Yeah, I mean, if we were able to see, you know, multiple objects on the seabed that were man-made, and as well as we'd probably pick up debris field in the video that we're able to see from Argus, we would be able to use that to kind of narrow in on the wreckage, but we haven't really seen all that much that signifies man-made objects.
Okay.
It's time for breakfast. I've been eating the big breakfast and going to bed. I gotta stop that.
Yeah, I was thinking of how much...
And then wake up and eat lunch.
That's not...
Yeah, how much of my day I'm losing to do watch, eat breakfast, sleep, eat lunch, go on watch.
Are you getting up for lunch?
Oh yeah, I'm getting... Well, I slept through it the other day.
Yeah, sometimes I'm actually awake, but I never go get it. I'm usually not awake until noon.
It's, I will say with the food here, if you get a full meal every meal, that's quite the calorie count.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, lunch has like the things that I like the most. I never get lunch.
Yeah. And like the fresh fruit and stuff every time is really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is a great one.
Thanks to all our viewers everywhere we've got quite a range of locations across the world. Ireland, Austria, Barbados, Norway, New Zealand, Russia, and Sweden. Continue to send in those questions and let us know what you might be wondering, or if you have any questions about the Clipper, this expedition, or anything that we have going on. I'd love to be able to continue to share and answer any questions that you might have.
I don't think I ever thought I'd be working closer to people in New Zealand than back home.
I never thought I would come back this close to New Zealand and not spend a significant amount of time visiting there. But I'm not, unfortunately. It is an amazing place.
I saw the airport, and that was about it.
Oh God, you gotta visit New Zealand. It's
I
a brilliant
know.
country.
That's amazing. And to save up those Delta miles.
Yeah. If there was truly a reason for me to go, it would be Lord of the Rings.
They did have a stuffed animal Weta in
You
the
can't go
airport.
visit Hobbiton.
Yeah, I know. They have like the real life like version of the Shire.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible.
You went there, didn't you, Michael?
Hmm?
Didn't you go there?
We actually, somebody from home is a very big Lord of the Rings fan and asked me to go there and, like, you know, get something. We had kind of forgotten about it, but then we were driving down the road and it was just like, pull off here for Hobbiton. So we went in, but we didn't stay because it's like, you can't just go around in there. There's a little gift shop you can go around, but you have to go around it properly. You have to, like, get in the tour bus. Get in the tour group and go around, and most of New Zealand is not like that. Most of it's like you just go do whatever you want. So we were too cool for school. We said, no way, man. And we didn't do it. But if you're a true Lord of the Rings fan, I guess you'd have to, wouldn't you?
I'm pretty sure my sister chose her study abroad for a semester location, New Zealand, for that exact reason.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty cool. I think we were crunched for time too, but you know, I'm sure you can like go in a little hobbit house. That's an interesting one.
There's a little ridge line in front of us
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Showing up in the
That's
side
probably
scan.
what we're seeing in the side scan,
Yeah.
and then it cuts across.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Thanks to our viewer from Germany for tuning in. We do have some points of interest, or some targets that the science team has marked. However, haven't necessarily gone back and viewed any with Argus's camera just yet. We've been able to pass nearby some of them as we've gone from line to line, but haven't in depth surveyed any of those just quite yet.
In depth.
Yeah. Dad jokes abound.
Wow, wow.
Anything new while I was gone? Nothing?
Not really. Same old stuff. Same rocks coming into view.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It is very exciting to have you followed us. It's great to see so many people online right now from all over the world. And what you're seeing on the quad is actually the sunrise. It is pretty impressive. It's 6:10 in the morning here. So Mike, can we get a short, quick explanation on how to translate the sonar images?
Yeah. So how to read what we're seeing on the side scan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Argus has two sonar transducers that we took from an old towfish and put on the side. One on the right, one on the left of the ROV. And so we're using it as a towfish, which isn't really what it's designed for, but that's what we're using it for. And the engineers built a fin for the back so to kind of stabilize it in the water. And so these sonar transducers send out sound waves or pings to either side that then will reflect against the seabed, and they'll measure the return. So the black stripe in the middle is the water column, so that's the depth below Argus, and then the sonar goes out and pings against the sediment. So this the darker reflections is the sediment and the mud that kind of absorbs a little bit of that sound, and then the brighter yellow reflections that you see to the right now are rocks and other, metal would reflect as well, but we've been seeing mostly rock that reflects the sound a lot stronger than mud will, because it doesn't absorb any of it. Kind of like if you're in a basement where it's all cement and you clap, you hear it a lot more than if you're in a carpeted room, because the carpet will absorb that a little bit more. And so then it reads back, and so as you see the motion of the screen, that's as Argus moves along, each ping or sound wave that it puts out adds another layer of points in a line across the screen, and that's moving along as we advance. And then those linear pings across the screen build together into this waterfall. We call it a mosaic of what the seabed looks like acoustically.
Thank you for that explanation. And hello to the people in Norway that are following us. So good to have you with us. So we've been diving for almost 3 days now, is it?
Yeah, we're on hour 56. So yeah, it'll be almost 2.5 days in a few hours.
So how far above the seabed do we have to be to be able to perform this? Like, what is the ability of the?
So right now we're we've been staying between 15 and 20 meters above the seabed. And at that depth, we're able to actually see the seabed with Argus's camera and lights, which is really cool. Normally, with towfish, side scan sonar specifically, you have a blind spot because it's called the nadir, and it's the area directly below the towfish that the sonar doesn't get. And so you often try to minimize that, but the higher you go, the more range you have, the farther out you can see because the sound doesn't hit the seabed as quickly. But we're able to get a decent range, about 150 meters to each side, so a swath of 300 meters, while also at 15 to 20 meters we can see the seabed. Now it looks right now in the Argus camera in feed 2, it looks like it's just blue nothing, but it actually is the seabed.
There's a rock coming up now.
Yay, we have a good example. So we are able to see features on the seabed, so we can be confident that we're not going over debris from the aircraft in the blind spot as much.
And we have another question about the differences between the side scan and the multi-beam.
That is the question? Yeah. That's the question? Okay. So multi-beam is typically mounted to the hull of the vessel, and it sends out a whole array of sound pulses, and it can go into much deeper water, and it generally brings back bathymetry, whereas side scan is we change the altitude of the towfish, and so you tend to look at the same level, whereas the multi-beam, it's coming from the same point on the ship and is getting us different depths. So sonar, side scan is more for texture and reflectivity of objects, whereas multi-beam is more for bathymetry.
Perfect.
Yeah, the multi-beam can, I believe, technically go down to 7,000 meters.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And accurately record. And then, that being said, the faster we go with the ship, the narrower the area that it looks at. Same with deeper, it tries to focus on the optimal area, because otherwise it would be too jumbled with us going so fast over such a deep area of water. So we'll kind of, bring it in. That being said, it's still looking at sometimes upwards of 4 kilometers on each side of the ship. So at one point, we were mapping about 8 kilometers wide just from our ship. That's what, 4, almost 5 miles. So it gets a pretty good area.
Okay. I am curious about how, so right now we have Argus between 15 and 20 meters above the seafloor. If we had it, let's say, I don't know, 100 meters away from the seafloor, would it work? Would the sonar work or not really?
No, I mean, so they're like, the higher you go, like if we were to go at 40 meters, you could see out a broader range, but the sound will attenuate in the water
for sure.
because of the frequencies we're at too quickly for you to you really can't go much higher than we are. You can adjust it a little bit, like within 10 or 15 meters to maybe get your range a bit, but you can see on the very edges of the sonar it starts to get a little grainy, and that's because the sound isn't quite going out that far. So we are fairly limited with the range to this sort of altitude.
Perfect.
Mike, how does a typical towfish setup manage the change in the depth like if you have to keep it the same, like say around 20 meters off the bottom, how do you handle the change in the bottom?
Well, it's exactly the same. You have a winch that you pull in and out of.
But it's usually like a manual thing, and it
Yeah.
just has a like an altimeter on it.
Yeah, I mean, so we, well, I mean, the sonar is an altimeter, you know.
Yeah.
So like basically, when we used the towfish from Nautilus, we had a smaller winch which was up next to the winch control. I'm not actually sure if it's still there. It might.
Yeah,
still, it might be
yeah,
there.
the controls are
Anyway, and it was a much smaller cable, and yeah, so we had a cable out read like we do here that goes directly into the software to help us with layback. But yeah, you basically, if you start to see the swath, the altitude narrow, as if, you know, and as if the seabed's coming up, we would just haul in on the winch for a bit. We also would have the single beam going, which is mounted to the hull, so we could see a little bit ahead of time if a seamount or something was coming up. Because we were using it a lot in the Black Sea where there really wasn't any good bathymetry, and this is before Nautilus had a multi-beam, so we weren't able to get a base map ahead of time.
Yeah.
So we were kind of flying blind. So we used the single beam sonar to look out for things you might
to
hit.
look out ahead. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was getting at, because we like we
yeah.
rely on ours, even on just this cruise a couple of times. We've been like leaning heavy on the forward-facing one, the Dodge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
Dodge
steep
thing.
slopes and stuff.
Yeah. No, it's quite often that you just see the bottom rise coming up in the water column, or in the waterfall here in the sonar, and you just like haul in on the winch. Hope that all goes well. Also, we're only working down to about 400, maybe 500 meters, so your winch can respond faster than it can here.
Right.
And hauling in a couple of meters usually does the trick, but we did hit a few slopes. We came back with what we would call sediment samples.
Mike, we have a question about what if we were to mount the side scanning sonar like in the middle of the bottom of Argus? Would we eliminate the blind spot that we have by doing so, or
Well,
that
no.
is
So
not
side
possible?
scan is designed to be at a certain angle, and if you were to face it directly down, it wouldn't work.
Perfect. That makes sense.
That's the basis
That's the
behind the
idea.
name side scan. It scans to the side. There
Yeah.
are so multi-beams and other types of sonars do go directly down. This is just a specific type of sonar that's designed to be surveyed in this way and look for the reflectivity and textures of the seabed. So it's a different type of data set. We're looking at how things reflect the sound wave, so like metal, rock, sediment, and then you can see the roughness of the seabed as well. So there's ways to use sonar classification with this data to look at is it mud, is it sand, what's the, is it gravel, what is the sediment type based on how it reflects the sound. Multi-beam and a single beam sonar and a variety of others are designed for bathymetry and different types of work.
So this type of side sonar is better and like more efficient in terms of like finding what we're looking for. Right?
Yeah, because you can see that like an aluminum aircraft wreckage will reflect differently than sediment and will reflect differently than a rock. So if we did Okeanos did a multi-beam survey of this area, but it's designed to look for large-scale bathymetry like seamounts, and so you weren't able to find something as small as the aircraft.
Is the sonar able to pick up large fish? Is one of our questions.
Yes. If there were a fish in the water column, you could see it. It would basically look like a bright blob, and then you would see a shadow that looks like a fish farther away from it. It would not, like, if you see these rocks, the shadow and the bright reflections are connected, but if it's up in the water column, they're actually separate, so that's how you know that it's not something on the seabed. So it would hit the sound would hit the, I don't want to say hit, but it hits the fish. The fish doesn't feel it, trust me. And then you'll see the shadow behind it. We actually confused schools of fish for ancient shipwrecks in the Aegean Sea quite a bit because they look like the same reflection as a pile of amphoras. But we started to learn that, you know, the shadows weren't quite connected, so we started to dismiss those.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. Mm-hmm. So the difference between the top two windows and bottom two windows are like the top two are high frequency and
Yes.
the top bottom are low frequency.
Yeah, and so one's 300 and one's 600 kilohertz, and one we have set at 100 meters range and the other at 150, so 200 and 300 swath width.
Yeah.
Like the log.
Yeah. This little light thing is kind of annoying.
I got one. Thanks. The what?
What?
Oh, this?
That thing, yeah.
I know it's not. Why is it?
It's
hasn't
coming
been there
through
any
the-
other day.
It's, I think, where the sun is directly behind us right now.
Is there like a pinhole in
There's
the
a
wall or
little like
something?
pinhole where the wires come through for the AC, and the sun is like
That's
directly
funny.
behind it,
Yeah.
so it's shining through on the monitor.
That's funny.
Yeah, this is our sunrise.
There's like mole people in here.
We have
No sun.
no sun for us.
Well, that's those guys out on the submarines.
So that's why we have Steve to show us the sunrise through our panels.
Yeah, I will say there's been a couple times, especially on the 4 to 8, where you come up here and it's you get out at 2000, 8 p.m. And it's dark. You go to bed. You wake up. It's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It's dark.
It's dark.
You get in here and you walk out the door, and immediately you're just assaulted by the sunlight.
Yeah. I think we have the closest or the smallest blind spot that we could have, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, they definitely picked it well so that we got a good coverage with a camera. There's maybe 10 meters on each side that aren't covered by camera or side scan. But again, we're looking for an about 40 meter long wing structure. So you would not hide all of that in those 10
It
meters.
would have to be perfectly lined up parallel to us.
Yeah, and then you'd still, assuming
Still
the wing
probably
is still
see-
connected to other structures of the plane, you're, yeah. And then, yeah, when we, for relooking at some of these targets, we'll change direction of the lines, so you get even better coverage over these things, so you're sure you don't miss anything. So I'm going to try, we're about to turn here. I'm going to try to increase the transfer speed of the steps to 2 knots. We're not going to make it up to 2 knots. We were making, it was set at 1.3 and we were making about 0.3.
Yeah, yeah.
So hopefully we'll get a little more out
And
of that.
and you'll tell the next watch that we probably want to extend the top 2 lines.
Yeah.
Because they'll just be easier to run. We're going to end up having to run that area anyway, so we may as well extend them. Just to get to the other lines.
Yeah, I know. It's easy to forget that we're like, this is the sunrise here. It's probably the sunset in other places of the world, but technology keeps us together, and we sometimes forget that we're so far away.
That's crazy. I actually don't think I've ever watched a live video of the sun rising while it was setting where I was.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
Like, you know it happens, but you don't ever see it.
Yeah, that's true.
Bridge, nav. Request we hold position. Thank you.
So we have a question about how difficult it would be to get back to the same exact spot that we have tagged. And I assume it's not that difficult since we have the coordinates, right?
Yep. So we have the targets dropped in our the HIPAC system that we have our charts on. They're also marked in the side scan program with the exact coordinates down to like the millionth of the decimal degree. And with the ship's dynamic positioning abilities, we can very slowly just creep over the areas until we're exactly where we want to be.